Welcome to my latest video. This is my first attempt at doing a voiceover. I had lost some audio footage, have the video. My microphone had become disconnected from the camera and I had no idea about it. And I was having trouble with the memory card, etc. So here we go. We got a Yard Machines MTD. This one's a 18 horse, single cylinder Briggs and Stratton. It's got the semi-auto transmission. This one came to me, no battery. Bought it cheap. Got engine trouble. Big engine trouble. Engine looks like it's been not molested, which is good. I like to find them if they haven't been taken apart or repairs attempted by someone else, because then you're sure you got all the parts. This one came with the deck on, so unlike the previous tractor I did that looked similar to this one does have the parts needed to hold the deck, which if you buy them without the deck on, you didn't know that you were missing that rod right there, and that turns out to be fairly important. It just adds to your cost if you're trying to use them for repair, flipping them as they call it, or whatever. It just adds to your cost because you got to locate that part, and is it worth it then to locate all those missing parts? This one's got the semi-automatic, or well, they call it an automatic. There's a pedal that tells how fast it should go. Just by pressing the pedal you get variable speed, and then you just have to hit reverse or forward or neutral. It's got a brake. It's also got cruise control, which I thought was kind of neat. You can hold the pedal where it's at and press a lever and it'll just hold that position. So you could use it similar to a gear tractor while you're going. So basically we just got to start doing the basic checks. Does it have oil? What does it have? What does it not? Let's get some access in there. Get these side panels off. It just makes maintenance a real problem. Yeah, I wish they would put thumb screws, because people aren't going to change the oil. They're not going to take that extra 5 minutes to get something apart. It does come apart fairly quickly. Basically, you would have just a few screws, and then if you wanted to take the whole front end off there, you'd take the headlight bulbs, give them a quarter turn, pull those out, or you could disconnect the harness and leave that up with the front grill as you pull it. Just a couple of big number 3 Phillips. And it looks like that bolt there must have been missing. Get underneath there, pull the whole grill.
Looks like about ½ inch under there.
Looks like about ½ inch under there. See, that muffler guard is getting loose and bent. Before I go pulling, right, the plug for the headlights. Beautiful. Now, let's see what we're looking at. And doesn't that give us wonderful access? Totally worth taking those few bolts off. Boy, is this thing a grease-laden pig. Oily, man. Has not been maintained well. Do the basics. Check to see, did they run out of oil?
Oh, she's low. Where my finger's at, it's supposed to be in between these two dots. And we are way at the bottom, so that totally makes sense with an engine that might blow. So what we got for an air filter. Yeah, somebody doesn't maintain this too well. That's a fact. But that wouldn't make it blow, but I'm just saying, when you got that low of oil, the temperature of that little bit of oil that's circulating has got to be ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna take the shroud off and see if we can get a socket on that. See if we can even get it to spin at all. I looked at the belts underneath. I don't think they're that stuck on the pulley that's the issue. It seems like maybe the same person that was messing with this one was messing with the other one, because I see the clamp for the fuel is way down there and it's supposed to be on there. That person has a MO apparently of leaving them away from where they're supposed to be and loose. I have no idea why. Anyway, I will take these bolts, take this shroud up, and then we'll take this off and we'll dig into it. The quick note, this thing here is flopping around like a fish. There hasn't been a bolt in that in a long time. That's your front muffler holding it on. That's why that thing was so floppy when I was first messing with it. That's an easy fix. Get these front bolts first. Whoa, I should have used the bit adapter. That's a really short bit. It kind of falls back in there. Use one of these. There we go. You don't have to take these all the way out. You just got to take them back about that far. First one I just got a little happy with. And then the back bolts. Can I just get those with the vice grips? Not really. I'll get a regular wrench. And this one, let's see, any gas in here? None. And a little debris that I think came off the rubber little gasket in there. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's definitely buggered. We don't care because it's underneath the hood. It's not like it's going to spill out because it's got a good sized neck on there, so just interesting where the debris and tanks always comes from, because it's amazing what can get in there. The coolest thing I ever found was the entire spout from somebody's gas tank. Their portable gas can, not tank. The whole thing was in there. Probably didn't work really well after that. Come on. Working around the back here. Trying to get this thing going. You don't have to take them all the way out, like I said, but you just have to make them clear. Yeah, that one's still not far enough. Now it is. All right, all kinds of different things. We had Torx here, we got hex here. Quite a variety of fasteners. Yeah, Johnny Fixit's been playing. Actually, I think these are Torx. Just a different size than the original one, but this one is Phillips. Johnny Fixit's been in this engine before and has created an imbalance in that flywheel because of this bolt. Well, it's just sitting in there, but is much smaller and lighter than the others. All right, got the cover off everything. Oh, she does turn. Ooh, but stops hard. Let's see.
Ooh, she's not happy. Yeah, I get about, let's see, I'll hold my hand on the part, 1/8 of a turn, not even. Ooh. It's kind of variable. There. Whoa. Yeah. I don't think it blew through the side of the block. I don't see it if it is. But we got major trouble here. So far on this one, it's looking like a quart of oil for $4 could have saved this engine. Looks like it just ran low on oil, and that's the whole story. But we'll just see. Maybe this is like the first tractor where they something underneath the coil went bad. I don't think, or the flywheel. I don't think so. We can only dream something would be that easy. This one's quite interesting. This is recessed. The shaft of the motor is recessed inside the housing for that flywheel. So I may have to just hammer on the bolt. I don't prefer to do that to pull it, but I may have to do that to pull it. Well, it's not like the first tractor we looked at. This one actually looks perfectly fine. And so does the coil. If you watched the previous video, that was the point of failure, was one of these magnets had come loose, got caught in there as it was rotating, and mangled that thing. Terrible. But I do notice the flywheel key, I just pulled it out of there, was sheared here. So whatever happened to this engine happened all in a hurry, because that key was completely sheared off. I just lost it down the little hole there. Get a picture of that. Let me get a screwdriver. That's the sheared off half. The other half is still in the flywheel. Did I just drop it down there anyway? I didn't mean to. Here, it's here. When you're looking through the camera, things look weird. Anyway, it did shear off the flywheel, so this one failed suddenly. She came to a screaming halt, enough to shear a flywheel key. That's a lot of force. Here's both flywheel key halves. It did what it was designed to do, but the engine was already damaged because low oil. So yeah, it probably came to a screeching halt, and that caused catastrophic damage inside, most likely crankshaft, connecting rod, bearing cap, don't know. Well, at this point, let's do as they say, let's pull off the band-aid. This engine's got to come out. We got to open it up and see if it's completely destroyed, or if we're going to replace it with something else. That's where we're heading. If it was just one component, you might be able to fix it, but more likely you're replacing the engine with some other engine, which could happen, but let's just see what we got. Well, let's just get that engine loose from everything that connects it. Main power cable. I got no battery, so I don't have anything to worry about here. Charging system. Good. I'm gonna have to cut that zip tie. Coming.
letters, but I do have something that can break it. There we go. Disconnect that. That stays with the engine. All right, looking good up here. Now let's go around to the fuel side. Let's get the throttle cable off next. This one is throttle and choke together. I like that design, but if you don't know how to adjust them, you might have your choke on when you're really just trying to run it. So it's not for everybody, but I prefer it. And this didn't have any fuel in it, so that makes it easy to disconnect everything. I'm going to go right for the carb itself to leave the least possible stuff with what we're taking off. And I just dropped that one. Yeah, there's some old fuel in there. Let me guess, water. And okay, I think we're good from the top. Here's where I'm at. I got to take the bolts that are below the engine. If you look what's in line with the engine, it's part of that deck. So let's get the deck out of the way. Then we'll be able to get the bolts underneath. We have to get probably 4 bolts for the engine itself, and we got to get that main pulley off. Sometimes they fall right off. Other times it's torch time and everything else, because there's a pulley that runs the higher pulley. It's a double stack. The higher one runs the drive, and the lower one runs the deck. Well, it's been sitting on there for the whole time. There wouldn't have really been a lot of reason to remove it. And usually the factory doesn't put any anti-seize. So let's see, maybe we get lucky and she comes right off. But anyway, I'm going to start by pulling the deck, get that off, and then we'll go for the bolts, the main pulley bolt, because it won't pull up with the pulleys on it, because there just isn't that big of a hole in the flat deck that the motor sits on. So that pulley has to come off. All right, I'm going to take you under there with me. Let's see what we can do about that main pulley. All right, the bolt came out sweet. Oh, she's loose, folks. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. That is beautiful. I just have to unlodge that the top belt, the bottom belt, of course, I took off with the deck. That's sitting right here. So, beautiful. All right, get you under here. Don't know if I'll be able to film this well, but I have a impact. I'm trying to work with a flashlight and impact with an extension on it. Let me get over here. Maybe I can get that one. There goes my light. Not working. I'm going to bring it back when I get those 4 bolts off for the engine. Ooh, we got pieces. We got pieces, folks. And this piece just fell out. I don't know if that was a shaft adapter on the bottom. I'll have to figure that one out too. I see pieces of the rod. Yes, I'll bring you in for a shot, of course. But it did blow all the way. Get out what I can. Yeah. Possibly the valves are open in the position it is, so it's got a little pressure on that cam, or the cam is just jammed. Anyway, I'll show you what I'm seeing. So we shouldn't be seeing any shiny crankshaft journal there. We can see below that is the rod, or to the right of that is the rod. And I see more pieces down in there. So yeah, not good. About what we were expecting, but still not good. All right, I'm going to try to get this out and just see what all is broken in here. Get this gear. That looks okay. More pieces. Oh, there's just little pieces everywhere, all in my everything I touch. Put you down in here. So that bore, I mean, you can see the discoloration down low where the piston hasn't been traveling. But as far as smoothness goes and scratching, with the low oil condition we were running, that is surprisingly good. That is totally reusable. Wow. Okay, so that cast iron cylinder bore looks fantastic yet. Again, you can see the discoloration, how hot that black oil was, what little oil they had. But looking at the thing for the crankshaft, that looks to be not correct. The boss there, I'm going to call that, the bearing, whatever. Another part that would get hit was where those push rods come through. That didn't look like it got hit. Of course, I mentioned the little dished part over there. Right there. That's the little dished out part that allows clearance. That looks not cracked. I think everything looks rebuildable here. Welcome back to from what for me is a new day. For you, it was a half a second. Let's start by getting this oil drained out. I should have just done this overnight, and then it would have been drained out by the time I got here in the morning. Look at that oil. It's black as can be. And we remember by looking at the stick, there wasn't much of it, which was most likely why the engine blew. Lack of lubrication. Could have saved themselves a whole engine by just doing the basic maintenance services. Now, I did look up the machine this goes to. I think it was an 05 or 06, and it was sold at Home Depot. So those aren't usually your tried and true. If you were going to find a person that was going to take care of their equipment, they probably bought it at a servicing dealer, and they probably didn't buy a Yard Machines either, or MTD. Same stuff. Look at that's all the oil there was. So literally, I mean, it's still dribbling, but just a few ounces was what was in there. So that's not going to be enough. That's all she wrote. I'm just going to swish this around a little so we get the most possible. And then we'll turn it over and take the bottom pan off and view what I assume is going to be something with the rod, probably the main, probably the crankshaft, probably overheated the main bearing there, which there are no main bearings here. It's just the rod usually. So the rod is probably flopping around like a fish. Or could be something else. We will find out. Welcome back to from what for me is a new day. For you, it was a half a second. Let's start by getting this oil drained out. I should have just done this overnight, and then it would have been drained out by the time I got here in the morning. Look at that oil. It's black as can be. And we remember by looking at the stick, there wasn't much of it, which was most likely why the engine blew. Lack of lubrication. Could have saved themselves a whole engine by just doing the basic maintenance services. Now, I did look up the machine this goes to. I think it was an 05 or 06, and it was sold at Home Depot. So those aren't usually your tried and true. If you were going to find a person that was going to take care of their equipment, they probably bought it at a servicing dealer, and they probably didn't buy a Yard Machines either, or MTD. Same stuff. Look at that's all the oil there was. So literally, I mean, it's still dribbling, but just a few ounces was what was in there. So that's not going to be enough. That's all she wrote. I'm just going to swish this around a little so we get the most possible. And then we'll turn it over and take the bottom pan off and view what I assume is going to be something with the rod, probably the main, probably the crankshaft, probably overheated the main bearing there, which there are no main bearings here. It's just the rod usually. So the rod is probably flopping around like a fish. Or could be something else. We will find out. I'm going to take this piece, which is the oil dipstick tube, completely off. Just an O-ring there. So I don't break it as I'm turning the motor upside down and stuff. I don't want to have to find more parts. It doesn't look like this block is cracked open, so I don't know that if the rod went all the way broken, if it's the rod. So anyway, now we can see the bolts we have to get at. This one here is the oil pump access. There's a little drive tube that I don't think you can put it back together without taking that off. Ooh, we got pieces. We got pieces, folks. And this piece just fell out. I don't know if that was a shaft adapter on the bottom. I'll have to figure that one out too. I see pieces of the rod. Yes, I'll bring you in for a shot, of course. But it did blow all the way. get out what I can. Yeah. Possibly the valves are open in the position it is, so it's got a little pressure on that cam, or the cam is just jammed. Anyway, I'll show you what I'm seeing. So we shouldn't be seeing any shiny crankshaft journal there. We can see below that is the rod, or to the right of that is the rod. And I see more pieces down in there. So yeah, not good. About what we were expecting, but still not good. All right, I'm going to try to get this out and just see what all is broken in here. Okay, got this out. Yeah, it is just covered. Can you see all those particles? That's all aluminum chunks. Another good sized chunk. And here's the grand prize, the ones with the bolts in it. Can see some heavy scoring there before she overheated and gave up. The other side, again, heavy scoring. You can feel it. Melted aluminum. The cam, if I could get the garbage out of there, it looks like the decompression valve will still work if I can get the junk out of it. It's a little sticky at the moment. Doesn't want to return once it gets all the way cammed over, but my guess is there's a piece of garbage in there, or it's damaged. I'll have to look that over further. Did it hit the block? No. Don't see damage there. I will have to take everything out to look at everything, including the cylinder itself. Could have got pieces up in there and poked through the side. So more disassembly. Get this gear. That looks okay. More pieces. Oh, there's just little pieces everywhere, all in my everything I touch. All right, I think I can get this crankshaft out now. The keyway's out of the other side because that's came out with the flywheel or whatever. But will this just make it past this governor arm, which I'd rather not disturb? If I get it all the way, there we go. Something's holding it. Oh, the washer can't go through. The washer's bigger than the part that it can fit through. Okay, put that back together. Now, first things first. You're not really going to damage the counterweight, but we can see there is a good buildup of aluminum there. Luckily, I have a trick for removing that. Okay, just checking a few things. Now, initial look up in the cylinder. That part there is supposed to be ground away. The rod broke off pretty low. The cylinder actually looks amazing from what I can see on this side. And it doesn't look like the rod was slapping and breaking more stuff after it broke. Looks like the bottom half broke off of it and got ground up. Tappets still move for the valves. I think the block's okay. I don't see any cracks initially. Where it would be likely to happen was here. I just felt this. It did slap here a little bit. Because I could feel the metal's built up there a little bit, but it didn't crack. That's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna take the head off so I can get that piston out the top, and then we can see the cylinder real good. Assess the condition of that, because what I can see on the top here doesn't look too bad, or what was the bottom of the cylinder. Let's see about the top and the condition of the piston itself, the skirts, all that stuff. Just cleaning up here a little bit so we don't introduce a bunch of dirt. I mean, that block, if it's going to be reused, has to be completely cleaned anyway. Got to get every last piece out of that, every last little chunk of metal, but let's not add dirt to it. These little ones, what size would that be? That size. You could just pull the head and let the valve covers spring open and whatever, but we're here. Isn't that a handy little prying area there? Wow, this looks amazingly clean for something that hasn't been maintained worth a darn, and had oil that looked like it was something that had been in there for 50 years. Oh, right, these are loose. I was wondering why these were loose. Because the push rods had already dropped down, of course, because they're not on the cam. Yeah, it freaked me out for a minute there. Pretty normal. Didn't seem it at the time. Let's get something that gets us over the top here. I suppose there's probably a perfect untorquing sequence for these to not crack your head like a car. I don't think it's that important unless you really think it's warped that bad that it would be under stress. Ooh. Ooh. These ones here, they've got them, if you got these bolts out, bolts in, it's hidden. Wow, those are tighter than this thing can do. These back in here just so I don't have 1,000 different bolts hanging out. Crack these manually, or I could go up to my 1/2-inch impact. All right. Are you ready to come off, head? Okay, get this spark wire out of the way. No. Take the intake manifold off there. There we go. Free that up. And that's the O-ring type, but boy is she flat. Alright, what else? That's it? Oh, it already came loose. Let's see. Pretty carbony, but not bad looking. Oop. I'm not going to set that down on its face. Good way to get a kink in it from the, it is just aluminum. All right, top of the piston doesn't look cracked or anything. Let's see if that wants to, yep, she's moving. Oh, still got the head gasket on. Head gasket looked okay. Or no, it didn't. That was blown too. Right there. These are known, these big Briggses are known for blowing, and what it'll do is it'll blow it into the crankcase, which is quite unusual for a small engine. And most people will think, then they'll see all this oil coming out, which probably explains all the oil that's trying to get out every passage it can. This is the PCV crankcase vent. The oil's been trying to get out of this engine everywhere it can because it's being pressurized. So we will have way less smoke than what they were doing. That's why this is so black. It's because they had blow-by compression blowing into the crankcase, pressurizing that whole crankcase. And of course, it's going to try to get up past the rings. Okay, let's look at this. Now there's a ton of scratches there, but not one I could feel with my finger. So I may be able to reuse this piston top. The wrist pin's still good. So, I mean, it's not flippy floppy, but if I can buy the whole thing complete, I'll buy piston and rod from somebody that didn't run theirs low on oil. But I'll bring you down in the cylinder here. Let me get some paper, clean the bore out, and then I'll bring you back. Put you down in here. So that bore, I mean, you can see the discoloration down low where the piston hasn't been traveling. But as far as smoothness goes and scratching, with the low oil condition we were running, that is surprisingly good. That is totally reusable. Wow. Okay, so that cast iron cylinder bore looks fantastic yet. Again, you can see the discoloration, how hot that black oil was, what little oil they had. But looking at the thing for the crankshaft, that looks to be not cracked. The boss there, I'm going to call that, the bearing, whatever. Another part that would get hit was where those push rods come through. That didn't look like it got hit. Of course, I mentioned the little dished part over there. Right there. That's the little dished out part that allows clearance. That looks not cracked. I think everything looks rebuildable here. I got you zoomed way in there. Now here's what I see. This area here looks like fresh metal. I think that thing was flippy flopping and wearing that down. I thought it was for clearance when I first looked at it, like this part is. They did this so probably the rod has to go back or something. But that's where that the rod was flopping around and chipping that off slowly like a lathe. Not cracked, but not good either. Luckily, it's internal to the engine, so even if it had a crack, it wouldn't lose oil to the outside. Okay, so after looking this engine over further and thinking about things, here's the way I think this failure happened. And it's important because you want to make sure you're finding the real problem. Here's this situation, the events that I think happened as they happened. It blew a head gasket, clearly. That made it use excessive oil because the crankcase was getting pressurized, blowing a whole bunch of oil out every place it could, every seal, every gasket, over here, all around. Probably was putting a lot into the intake, losing oil loss, somebody doesn't check it, runs low on oil, blows. So just a good lesson for people. If you see something happening to your engine, fix it quick or find out what the real cause is. Otherwise, you could have a catastrophic event like this person had. A simple head gasket fix possibly could have saved this whole engine, or at least topping up the fluids, oil in this case. So I'm going with that scenario. I'm going with that. This looks rebuildable. Everything I see looks rebuildable. I'm going to order some parts and we'll get back at it later. So off camera, I've just been trying to clean up some things. And, you know, like all the gasket surfaces, I can get all this prepped while the parts are being shipped. And, you know, I'll open up the oil pump area. We want to make sure there's not even one little piece of that. I pulled the filter off already, got that ordered. We want to flush all that out to make sure there's not even one little piece of remaining aluminum to get in between, you know, let's say the gears on between the crankshaft and the cam or anything else like that. And FYI, if you wash things, for example, that cylinder, I just rinsed that out with water probably an hour ago. You get what they call flash rust, which when you use degreaser and you get all the oil off, you will get flash rust. So don't think you're not going to damage something by not getting back to it quick. It will happen. Same thing with the crankshaft. See those water spots? And right there, the bearing journal surface. We don't want that. So we're going to oil that up once we get completely washed out with everything. I just want to, you know, every little passage, we got to wash it out, make sure there's no residual junk in there. But just FYI, flash rust will damage things. Even if you think you're going to get right back to it, it takes no time at all.